Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest White Pod episode. I'm Stephen Blaine, your host with White Labs. I have Mitesh here.
Thank you so much for having me today.
We really appreciate you joining. To help our viewers out, let us know your background and everything about you.
Absolutely, thank you. So I am. We don't really use job titles, but I suppose in a notional way, I'm the CEO of Landy's Chemist. It's a business that I joined 12 years ago. It's actually a family business that my parents and both my sisters are involved in. And over that last kind of decade, we have grown and developed to be one of the biggest pharmacy players in the UK. So although we have a single store, our revenue is the equivalent of about 20 or 30 pharmacies. So we've had a lot of good luck, good fortune, and we've learned a lot along the way.
That's great. Great to hear. So what inspired you to get into the e-commerce business?
In truth, it was never really a passion or something that was on my mind at all. I worked in finance for a bunch of US banks that you would have heard of. And it was in 2011, right towards the end of it, like getting up to Christmas, where my father actually had a heart attack and had to have emergency surgery. And it was at that point that I realized that I was barely spending any time with my family. My dad's not really a phone person, so it's not like we were in touch speaking. And it was the point that I realized I had to make a change. So within about 3 months, I had left finance and didn't really know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to be a little bit closer to home. So my sister at the time said, we've got this website. It literally is making no money. Could you have a look and see if you can figure anything out? So I started to play with it in my spare time. At this stage, I was actually teaching economics and helping out a bunch of kids at a private school, kind of doing their Oxford-Cambridge entrance exam.
Gotcha.
So in my spare time, I was tinkering with this website and starting to see little bits of success feed through really quickly, and it kind of became something that I was super obsessed with. Fortunately for us, it's grown really strongly now.
That's great. Great to hear. I'm an economics major myself.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Guilty passion.
Yeah, right. I'm not really using too much of it, but yeah.
It's interesting you say that, though, because someone asked me a very long time ago, what did you learn in your degree? And at the time I said, I don't think I learned anything. And then about 5 years ago, I was talking to someone about how you might look at the political leanings in a country that you've never been to. And I said, you could look at newspaper readership. You could see what kind of papers are in circulation and what kind of headlines they're printing, and you could get a really strong sense. And I think that's the sort of thing, actually, that I learned as an economist. It was how to use the data available to answer the question in front of you. And maybe there's an element of e-commerce upside in that as well.
That's fair. You have a good point there. So who exactly is your target audience, and what makes you different than your competitors?
So our target audience is principally women. Generally, those women are aged between about 35 and 70. They tend to be slightly higher income. They tend to be concerned about their personal wellness. So, it might be someone who, for example, is more careful about the kind of alcohol that they drink, or, careful about the types of foods they eat. That's our sort of classic customer. We're different, and we really speak to those people for a range of reasons. Partly it's the way we work. So, a couple of years ago, we actually won the award for being the most sustainable pharmacy in the UK. That's reflected by the fact that we recycle more than 95% of all of our waste. Our entire operation is plastic free, down to like the sticky tape, down to every element of what we do. We kind of have sustainability at the heart of things. So that's one of our really big differentiators. And the other ultimately comes down to quality of service. Particularly amongst our older customers, so many of them complain that other companies they buy stuff from don't have phone call access. And it seems like such a arduous thing for most companies today, because we just assume that consumers are totally comfortable using the internet, going online, ordering something, and then waiting. But the truth is that a lot of people still aren't fully there. So offering things like phone support via customer services is so valuable, and people really love that element of it.
That's great. No, I agree.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I'll add is that our service levels are just better. I've noticed with a lot of companies that I use, you email them and get an automated response saying we'll be back in touch in 3 to 7 days, which is just ludicrous, really. Like, to wait 72 hours for a response to an email is totally unacceptable. So our average response time, which we monitor quite carefully, is currently at 6 hours, and that's Monday to Saturday. So people get really fast responses. There's no automation because we don't need an automated response, because we know that we're going to get back to you lightning quick with an answer.
That's great. Great customer service. I like it. So what are your best-selling products?
So our business is wellness focused, and we look at wellness in a few different ways. There's our biggest category, which is vitamins, mineral supplements. And then after that, it's skincare. And then lastly, in our wellness journey, we also have perfumery, which is sort of the smaller side. So yeah, the VMS market is huge. We're seeing big trends in products like collagen at the moment. People are really focused on looking after their skin and all the anti-aging benefits that come from that. So yeah, at the moment, particularly something like collagen is really driving the market and moving us forward.
So Mitesh, what are your future plans for the business and yourself?
So, I mean, honestly, I would love to retire on the beach, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Failing that plan, one big thing we're focused on is product expansion. So we are looking at new ranges, new businesses, and working out who we can support. And the other thing that we're really starting to focus on is our international business. So we already serve customers in around 100 countries, but we think we could serve them better. We think we could do greater volume, and we're currently exploring how we can do that. So it's going to be things like multilingual website, multi-currency checkout. These are kind of the big changes that we want to make in the next few months to then start really driving out that international expansion.
Where are you selling now? What countries?
Well, so our biggest markets are outside of the UK are most of mainland Europe, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand are also big, and the entire Middle East is also a really big market for us. So places like Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Oman, Kuwait are all places that generate a lot of customers for us.
Gotcha. What activities are you doing to promote the site now?
So in the mix, we do a lot of PR. In general, so whether that is kind of classic PR where we are trying to get mentions and links in major publications, or whether it's for example via social media with influencers, that's one element of our strategy. The other major element is actually educational. So we are really focused on essentially providing the answers that customers are asking. So we are looking at what kind of topics are trending on Google and other search engines, and then curating our educational content to try and impact those people.
Gotcha. Is there anything else you want our audience to know about you and your business? Anything else that I have missed?
My goodness, that's a big question. No, not really. I think, I guess what I would say is if someone is listening to this and starting up and looking for inspiration, I would say it's hard work. And in truth, I think it's harder to go from 0 to 1 than it is to go from 1 to 10. So I guess don't be don't be downhearted, and keep pushing.
It's great. It's a great answer. Well, thank you for joining the White Pod. I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for having me, Stephen. Really lovely speaking to you.